Good evening, good evening. Happy Alive. I can't believe there's only 6.5 more weeks till Christmas. It's crazy. I have no idea where 2022 went. Thank you guys for popping in. I'm going to do my normal today, which is answer your guys' questions, some that have come in throughout the week, as well as do some happy news and some real estate updates. If you guys have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. Otherwise, I will just go over again some that have come in throughout the week, okay? So I'm going to start with the first question. So the first question is from Pam in Aurora. And Pam from Aurora says, I get prices are down, but when do we know when the perfect time is? I don't want to buy for 1.5, for example, and that's worth 1.2 in a few months. Thank you, Pam, for asking. So obviously, if you have either watched this or been reading around and so forth, staying educated, a lot has said that the basically spring of next year is going to be the lowest of low. So a lot of people would say to buy at that time. However, at that time, then the interest rates will be higher than now. So let's just say, for example, right now your payment might be $4,000 a month. And even if the house is, say, $75,000 or $100,000 cheaper, it might then be $4,400 a month just because of the interest rates, right? So it just depends kind of what way you want to look at it. But that is when they expect the lowest to be. But again, if you're getting a mortgage, the interest rates are going to be higher at that point. So, you have to weigh all of your options and variables in your decision. But thank you for asking, and that's what they do say. Okay, so majority of the economists, not majority, they're all saying it's going to lull basically the rest of this fall and then be the lowest of low in the spring. Okay? Hi, Justin. How are you? Hi, Mark. Hi, Stacy. I can't see. Hi, Becky and Josh. I think that's Catherine. Thank you guys for popping in. Okay. So again, I just jump around. I do some happy news and some questions. Then I'll do the real estate in the middle. Okay. So the first thing is, not first thing, but the happy thing is, what kind of neighbor are you? So there was basically a guy in Austria, and he was talking with his neighbor one day, and his neighbor said, he really liked bees and it's all about save the bees. So he ended up gifting his neighbor 2.4 acres, and he said, grow as many flowers as you want, grow whatever you want just to help the bees and make honey, etc. So I have never given my neighbor 2.4 acres, but I thought it was really cool that a guy in Austria did, and even the neighbor was surprised. He said, I just told him I do it as a hobby and I like it. I never expected him to actually sever his land and give it to me. So that was in Austria near the Germany border. So good on that neighbor for helping out his neighbor and the bees. Next question comes from Sandy and Ramera. Sandy and Ramera says, do you really think staging helps, or is it just a game to charge people more? Thank you, Sandy, for asking. I do think it helps. There's lots of studies that show they vary. Sometimes it says 4% higher. Sometimes it says 6.5% higher, but it's usually in around that 5% range that they say it gets higher if it's staged. So usually if a person comes into a home, it kind of feels sterile, cold, etc., almost institutional-like when it's not staged. It just feels a little hospital-like, etc. And also, let's just say it's a different kind of layout. Some people might think would a couch fit here, or would a table fit here, or it's too small for this or too small for that. But if you have it there and they can physically see it, they're like, oh yeah, this could be a little reading nook, or this could be a little study area, or this could be great for our pool table, etc. So I do think staging helps. But normally people need less things as opposed to more. But in general, staging, yes, definitely helps. Hi, Scotty. How are you? Hi. I can't see that. I think it's, I don't know, Yasmin, it says. Anyway, thank you guys for popping in. Okay. So what is next? The strength of a community was shown basically 2 hours and 15 minutes northwest of London, England. So what is this place called? Gloucestershire. I can't say, it's a tongue twister. But basically in 2011, there was a little local pub there. It closed down. And in 2012, it was purchased. And, somebody walking by with their dog said, hey, when's the pub going to open again? And the fellow said, never, mate. And he was like, what do you mean? And he said he's going to turn it into two semi-detached homes. So then basically that spread around the village really quickly, and they started to protest, and they even started a non-profit organization. They started to go to town and say, hey, you can't change the zoning of this, and this has been here for, I don't remember how many years, centuries and centuries. And, we have so many things that go on and so many memories here and what have you. So they ended up fighting it all. And 11 years later, after fighting with planning and zoning and everything, they ended up raising £500,000, which is just about 767,000 Canadian dollars, to raise it to buy actually the land back. And so they bought the land back and also raised enough money to renovate, because now it's been sitting for over 10 years, so it's a little bit falling apart. So I just thought that was cute, like the power of a community when they really believe in something, and they believed in this pub. So I just thought it was cute, because I like when people come together for many reasons. Next question comes from Tyra, and Tyra is in Cookstown. So Tyra said, I know you have rental properties and Airbnbs. I would like to get into that, but with interest rates the way they are, do you think it makes sense anymore? Thank you, Tyra, for asking. I do. However, I just think you just have to research. So same as always, and if you don't know always from before from myself, you just have to do your homework. So you have to look at everything. I always look at everything worst case scenario. So for example, for Airbnb, I don't look at it being rented 365 days a year. I, of course, want to be more realistic. I also want to go off of higher interest rates, because let's just say it does go up again. Let's just say you think, like some people in the past thought, hey, I'm locked in at 2.3, and then now it's 5.6 or what have you. I want to be a worst case scenario person. I know it's not nice to think like the glass is half empty as opposed to half full, but it's just better to think of investment wise. So if you pulled up, for example, Airbnb, because you mentioned Airbnb, and look at, your competition. So for example, if you think you're going to rent it for $300 a night, and there's other people around you renting similar or even nicer units for $100 a night, and you can see their calendar and you can see where the dashes are. So they've been rented out, but let's just say they have no dashes, so they're not even rented out, and they're $100, and you wanted to charge $300, then that's not going to make sense. And say you were going to charge $200 in cleaning fees, and they're only charging $75, and they're still not being rented out. Do you know what I mean? So you just have to do your homework and see what makes sense, see where you have competition and stuff. A lot of people often just buy because like, oh, my brother said this was a really good deal, or my neighbor said this was a really good deal, but they don't look into it for themselves. So I just think you just have to do your homework, because there are still things that make sense for sure, and they can make you more money than people make from their jobs. So I do think that still exists. You just have to do your homework of to where those places are. Okay. But thank you for asking. So next thing comes is a dog shelter. I love dogs, as many people know, in Alabama. So it is the biggest no-kill shelter now in the United States. It started in 2008, but this is just like a new one they opened. It used to be some Greyhound facility where they trained all of the dogs, and now they can house over 5,000 dogs a year. They have saved over 58,000 dogs since they started in 2008. So I just thought that was really cool, and I love that it's the but the biggest no-kill dog shelter in the States. So no euthanasia, no anything. They always keep the dogs until they are adopted or until they pass of natural causes and what have you. So I just really like that. In Alabama, again, 5,000 dogs and 33 acres would be amazing. And they also have two programs. So one lines up veterans that have PTSD or what have you, and they line them up with service dogs that have been abandoned. I don't know why they're abandoned, but that's just what it said. And then they also have a program that lines up seniors with their furry friends. So I just like that. So that's that. So I'm going to jump into real estate. So sorry that I don't go right into it from the beginning, but that's just me and how I do it. So too bad for you guys. So last week I spoke a lot about interest rates. I spoke a lot about rentals. And I forget what else I did. I think I did more like nationally and so forth, not really locally. So this week I'm going to do a lot of locally, okay? So I like to change it up, not always be just local, not always be just national, etc. So today is a lot more local, Simcoe County, okay? Okay. So in Simcoe County so far this year in 2022, there's been 5,717 sales so far, which sounds like a lot, which it is in a sense. However, it is 35.3% less than last year had sold this time, okay? So even though over 5,000, it is over 35% less than sold last year. And year to date, the average, so obviously January 1st till now, the average home price in Barrie sold for $843,000. There's more, 671 to be exact, but I just like the 843 is easier. And that is actually 15% higher than 2021. So that's good, because I know you read a whole bunch of articles and so forth, but they like to be fear and so forth. So I just want to give you guys all the facts. So surrounding Barrie, so still in Simcoe County, but not counting Barrie, so Oro, Innisfil, SS, Springwater, Agila, Tay, etc. The average year-to-date price there is $1,043,000 and change, so $1,043,000, and that's up as well. That's 14.6%. So Barrie is up 15% from last year-to-date, and around Simcoe County, around Barrie, I should say, but still Simcoe County is 14.6% higher than last year-to-date. Okay, so that is great. So on Halloween of this year, obviously just the end of October, there were 199.1% more homes listed than Halloween of last year. And that was 960 homes. Okay, so 960 homes were on the market. And again, that was 199.1% more than the year prior at Halloween. And last year in Barrie, there were 246 homes that sold, and that was, or sorry, not that sold, that were listed, and that was in October. And of those 246 homes, 223 sold. So obviously that's really high. 223 out of 246 is huge. This year, 279 were listed, so not that much more. However, only 162 sold. So that was down, and that was down 27.4%. Okay, so 27.4% less homes sold, and that was in Barrie in October. Again, just want to give you guys all the facts so you have everything, all the information. So last year in Barrie in October, the average sales price was $762,000. Again, there's decimal, comma, decimals, etc. But I just do the straights, first three numbers. So 762 was the average in Barrie in October last year, and this year the average is 733. So 762 last year, 733 this year. And last year in Barrie, the average days on market in October were 9, and this year the average days on market is 27. Okay. And last year in Barrie, homes on average were selling for 108.9% of asking. Again, October of last year, 108.9% of asking. This year, they're selling for 96.9% of asking. Okay. Again, I just want to have all the numbers for you guys. I know there's lots going on out there. In Simcoe County, basically, it was fairly similar to, number-wise, but again, I'll let you know. So last year in Simcoe County, there were 816 homes listed, 710 sold, so not too bad. This year, there were 1,053 listed and 503 sold. So obviously less than half sold for what was listed, which was down 29.2% from what sold last year, okay? And that's all of Simcoe County as a whole. Last year in Simcoe County, the average days on market was only 16, and this year the average days on market was 33. And last year, on average, homes were selling for 104.7% of asking, and that's in Simcoe County. And this year, they're averaging 96.1% of asking. I know there's lots of numbers taken. And in October last year, the sales price in Simcoe County on average was $832, and now it is $775. So that is down 6.8%. Okay, so now $775 from $832. And I know a lot of people think like, oh, it's crashing and what have you. But if you think about it from the year before, etc., unless these people bought last year and are selling now, which is just a slight decline, anybody else bought for less. So somebody, bought for 400, then they could have sold for 925. Now they're selling for 850, for example, obviously depending where they are. Or they bought for 500, and now they're selling for, obviously depending when they bought for 500, right? 930, a million, maybe 700 if they didn't buy too long ago, but they're still making money. So it's not crazy. Yes, it has gone down, but it has gone up so drastically for so many years that it's only the people that bought really recently that are going to lose. Okay. What else? So in Simcoe County, as I mentioned, 503 sold of the 153 that were listed. And of those properties, 386 of them were detached dwellings, 17 were semis, 44 were townhomes, and then the remainder 37 were condos. And the average prices of those homes, and again, this is Simcoe County in October. So the average detached was $841,000. The average semi was $607,000. The average townhouse was $539,000, and the average condo was $581,000. I said townhome. $539, it was $639. Okay, so detached $841, semi-detached $607. Townhouse is higher actually, and it was $639, and condo $581. Don't want to mess up those numbers. If we just did Barrie, because that was all of Simcoe County, there were 162 sold, and 111 were detached. They averaged in at $806,000. 8 of those properties were semi-detached homes, and they averaged at $579,000. And 23 were townhomes, averaging in at $608,000, and 20 were condos, and they averaged at $535. Okay. Let's see what else we'll have here. I also did Collingwood for you guys, so there were only 39 solds in October in Collingwood, and 20 of them were detached homes. They were over $1 million at $1,044,000. 8 of them were townhomes, coming in at $785,000. and 11 of them were condos coming in at 632. I also did ESSA, so there was only 22 solds in ESSA in October. Obviously, a majority were detached, with 20 of them being detached, averaging 752, and then there were 2 condos, and they averaged 700, okay? And I'm not going to do every single area. I'll do one more area for you is Aurelia. So in Aurelia, there were 44 homes, or 44 properties, I should say, that traded hands in October. 36 were detached, and they averaged 644, which is a really decent price. 3 of them were semis, and they averaged 602. Then next were townhomes. There were 4 townhomes that were sold, and they averaged 520. And there was 1 condo that sold, and it was 780,000. Okay, so average prices in October is basically what I'm going to give you next. And again, more surrounding, so tiny, tay, etc. And I'm also going to tell you the DOM, which means days on market before they sold. So were they listed October 1st and sold October 3rd, or were they listed October 1st and sold October 31st, etc. Okay, so I'm going to tell you that in the area of Simcoe County. Again, remember last week I did a lot more nationally, Canada, Vancouver, Edmonton, Halifax, etc. So this week I'm going to do more locally, okay? So Agila Toronto, which I always think I say wrong and have no idea truthfully how to say it. There were 35 days on market average there to sell, and they were over $1 million at $1,067,000. Then Bradford averaged 15 days on market. They were just shy of $1 million, or kind of shy, 947,000. Clearview averaged 44 days on market. They were over 1.228 to be exact. And new to Tecumseth, they averaged 27 days on market, and their average purchase price was $845,000. And then Oro averaged 42 days on market, and they were $987 for their average sales price. Penetanguishene, so up towards, not to say the jail, but towards the jail, but also super pretty along the water there. They averaged 36 days on market. Their average sales price was $715. So Ramera, more by the casino, they averaged 27 days on market and $778,000 for the average sales price. Severn was on the market on average for 3 weeks, and they averaged $686,000 to buy it there. Springwater, they were 40 days on market on average in October, and they averaged $987,000. And then Tay Township, so I always think of it as water-wise, but doesn't always have to be that way, of course. They were just under a month at 28 days, and they were a great price at $624. And then Tiny, even though so close to Tay, was much higher in their purchase price. Their average sales price was $1,012,000, and they averaged 33 days on market, okay? So if we looked at just October 2022 versus October 2021, the average sales price is down 6.8%. But if we look at it, October 2022 versus September 2022, it is actually up. It's not up tons, it's up 0.8, but hey, it's better than a kick in the butt. So in September, the average price was $769. September, I'm going to start that again. Average sales price was September $769, and now it's $775. Okay, so it's at 0.8%. And in September, only 37.5% of homes sold, which is obviously not the greatest number. And then October, over 47% of homes sold, 47.8 to be exact. So from 37% and change of homes selling in Simcoe County to over 47% the very next month, that is obviously a great sign. And last year by Halloween, there were over 8,800 homes that had sold, 8,837 to be exact. And maybe 10 or so minutes ago, I told you that there were only 5,717 that had sold this year. So that is 35.3% less. But again, it just depends which one you look at, because some are up. It just depends which one you look at. So I just want to give you guys all the numbers. And last year, you know how I told you 37% of homes sold in September. I'm not going to do the decimals. 37% of homes sold in September. 47% of homes sold in October. Last year, over 77% of homes sold. Don't ask me why they're all the sevens. That's just the way it is. I don't make up the numbers. I just go off of the stats. So over 77% sold last year. So obviously, you know, almost, not to say it's over 3/4 of people homes were selling last year. And in October, not even half were, but close to half. And in September, it wasn't close to half, but it was over a quarter. So anyways, that's that. So this year, only 43.4% of homes have sold as a whole, okay? The whole year that were listed. Currently in Simcoe County, there are 1,705 homes for sale. I will go over, I'm not going to say, for example, Agila, Toronto, just because it is a bit farther, but I'm just going to say a bit more locally of those 1,705 homes, okay, what's available. So 349 of them are available in Barrie. That's obviously the largest in Simcoe County. There's 47 in Essa, 135 in Innisfil, 78 in Midland, 104 in Aurelia, 90 in Oro, 42 in Penetanguishene, 44 in Ramera, 57 in Severn, 87 in Springwater, 53 in Tay, 105 in Tiny, and 187 in Wasaga. So Wasaga was second highest, and Innisfil was third, and then Barrie was first. Of the 1,705 homes for sale, there are 149 waterfront. I know we have a lot of people on automatic searches for waterfront, so there is still a fair amount of waterfront, and there are 30 mobile homes out of those 1,705 homes listed in Simcoe County right now. And in the last 30 days, there has only been 13 listings that have canceled out of any, real estate agent, any real estate brokerage, etc., which is really good because actually there's usually more than that. So that's good. I know I said I'm going to do mostly local, but I just want to do a little bit of other places. So Toronto, for example, they're down 18% from last year. So we're only 6.8% down in Simcoe County from last year. They're 18% and change from last year. So we're doing better in Simcoe County than they are there. And their sales are about half as well. So let's just say 1,000. They obviously didn't have 1,000 homes sell last year and only 500 this year, but that's more like what we had. But so there's still, again, about half of what sold. Okay. And in the past week, we've actually seen a lot of multiple offers, which is really weird because we haven't seen them in a long time. So it's very different. However, every single one of those across the board has been listed for 700,000 or less. So one was like 599, one was 685. There's even one up north for 399, etc. We're not getting $1.2 million homes with multiple offers. Okay. There's always people that want to move. Like some people are like, why are people moving right now, etc. There's always people moving. Sometimes it's a new relationship. Sometimes the relationship has ended. Sometimes they're having a baby. Sometimes they want a bigger home. Sometimes they want no stairs. Sometimes they want a basement apartment. Sometimes they want no neighbors behind. Sometimes their job has changed. What else? That's like basically the majority of them. Sometimes they're investors. Sometimes they want to buy a cottage, etc. But those are kind of some big main ones. And as many of you know from either past lives of mine or you've seen online, etc., they're expecting to have 1.5 million immigrants in the next 3 years, which worries some people because they think we already, don't have enough homes. Some people say it's not even homes. They say, like, what about hospitals? What about daycares? What about transit, etc.? So some people are excited to help the economy, etc., and other people are not as excited. So it depends who you talk to about that. There's a person who is an urban planner, analytics, actually do urban analytics at U of T, Martaza Haider, and he said immigrants normally don't buy for 2 to 3 years once they arrive in a country, and he is hoping that construction will have caught up by then. Don't know if it will. They're basically saying by 2027, they need 171,850 construction workers for homes by that time. And they think they're going to be short 29,000 just because of baby boomers retiring and so forth. So they're hoping that, immigrants coming in, etc., that there'll be a number that can help with all the construction because, again, they think they're going to be 29,000 short of workers, which translates into however many homes. I don't know. Okay. That was a lot of information. Okay. Next question is from Grace and John, and they are in Barrie. So Grace and John said, our home has been listed for over 2 months. How do we know if it's just because houses are sitting longer or are we overpriced? Thank you, Grace and John, for asking. You can ask your realtor to send you solds. So, for example, if you're a townhouse, don't have them send you detached homes, don't have them send you apartments, etc. But see townhomes. So let's just say, for example, you're listed for $650. Are there a whole bunch of townhomes that have sold for $580 that look like yours, or they're nicer than yours, or what have you? Or are they not as nice as yours and they're $720, etc.? Like, what is going on? What's actually selling, kind of thing? Because it doesn't make sense. Just because some people think like, oh, okay, a lot of people came to my property, so therefore it must be priced right. That's not true, because they could be coming to your property then buying other ones that are cheaper, right? So you just need to see what's been going on and what's actually selling, because that's truthful of what the buyer is willing to pay, what market value is. Just because something sold 6 months ago for X price doesn't mean that the buyers are willing to pay that today. So just see what has been selling and only recently. Don't go far back, and make sure it's comparable to yours, okay? And unfortunately, if, for example, you put X amount into your roof for insulation, they don't see that. But if you put that amount into your kitchen, that's more something that people see. People normally look at the kitchens, the bathrooms, the floors, and then they also ask, when was the roof done? When was the furnace done? When were the windows done? So those are the most common of what they look at, and then the 3 most common of what they ask, okay? So thank you guys for asking. So next thing is outside of Essex, basically outside of London. There's this new Airbnb, and it's actually powered by electric cars. So I always think of an electric car and you have to go plug it in or what have you, and it's usually far from where you want to go. But this actually, you plug it in, and then on the other side, there's a plug that you plug in your stove and plug in your fridge. Obviously, there's extension cords on it, which is just neat, something different, and obviously thinking outside of the box. And this Airbnb also gives you 3-course meals, and they also have like a big movie screen, so you could like kind of have a little drive-in type thing outside. So I just thought that was cute. Yeah, it's not really like happy news, it's just different news and has to do with real estate. So that's what I'm telling you guys. Next question is from Mark in Bradford. And Mark in Bradford said, I have 3 boys all in high school, and I know it's going to be really hard for them to buy when they're ready. What suggestions do you have for me to help them in the meantime? Thank you, Mark, for asking. So I have no idea if they have any savings or what have you, but let's just say, for example, you bought your home a really long time ago. You could always look at refinancing. I have no idea what you could refinance. Let's just say you could refinance enough to buy the Mitja house. Probably unlikely. And even if you could, you'd have to show on paper that you had enough to afford those 4 homes, which again is probably not the most likely. But maybe you could buy 1 home with the money that you refinance from your home. And, let's just say they're ready to buy in 10 years or what have you. At least that home has gone up in value. You've paid the principal down, or the tenants have paid the principal down. And even the money that's made every month, even if it's, marginal, then that can just go into a bank account, etc., whether it's for maintenance on the home or just for them, etc. So when the 10 years, you could divide that, sell it, divide it between the 3 boys, etc. You could also just teach them whether they want to move out early or not. So let's just say they want to move out early instead of maybe having this pimp fancy place. They could share, with 5 of their friends. It doesn't have to be the best location, doesn't have to be the most like Instagram worthy place, etc. So they could be in a not so nice place, and again, share it, have more of a beater car than a fancy car. They don't have to have like all the name brands, etc. So I used to like to show with my sister, she's younger than I am. I'm like, hey, yeah, you could do this, and this is what you'll end up with in 10 years, or you could do this with a house, and this is what you'll end up with 10 years. Because I was like, you could go on trips, you could buy clothing, you could buy a car, and blah, blah, and they all obviously have deep depreciated value, except the home. So I just always showed her that the home was the better bet to go. So even before they can get into that, if you get into it and help save for the 10 years, that's really good. So that was a really long answer. I apologize. But feel free to reach out if you have any more questions about that. Thank you for asking, Mark. So a woman outside of Chicago, she's all dressed up. She had her heels and her skirt on, etc. And she was going out for dinner and so forth. And she got a flat tire. And she was trying to figure it out, and I guess the lug nuts or whatever it was were really tight. She couldn't get them off. And I personally wouldn't have even tried. I would have just called CAA, but she tried. And anyways, a homeless man ended up coming, and he ended up changing her tire for her. He was super polite and called her ma'am and even opened the door when she was going to leave. He had no idea that she had any money, and she had $60 in her glove box, and ended up giving it to him, and he was ecstatic. But I just, obviously a lot of people, don't look at homeless people or don't anything, but this one, really helped out this lady and helped her to safety and to get on with her evening. So I just like that story. Next question is from a vet, and a vet is an Angus. So a vet said, we have to renew our mortgage in December of this year. We aren't sure if we should do 1 year or 2 year. Can you help? Thank you for a vet. Thank you for a vet. Thank you, a vet, for asking. So I'm a real estate broker, not a mortgage broker. I know a lot of people get them mixed up. And economists do say that spring of next year is going to be the lowest of the low, but they haven't said when the interest rates are going to start to go back down. So the Bank of Canada has said that they want to eventually put the interest rates back down to around 2%, but they haven't said when that's going to happen. So, how they said that, it's going to be the lowest of low spring of next year, but does that mean that the interest rates are back low by then, or they're starting to get lower then? They haven't really said when the interest rates. So I personally would ask a mortgage broker just to see their advice, just because I don't know on that end if that's when they're going to start to come down, or if they're going to wait a while before they start to come down, because some things have said they're just going to wait depending on inflation. They want inflation to be lower and then they'll start to bring it down. So I'm not sure. I would ask a mortgage broker. I apologize. I can't help you with that. But they would be better educated for you for that. But thank you for reaching out anyways. One more thing, there was a fire in Manhattan, and basically the ladders wouldn't reach up. It was a lithium battery or something like that. The ladders wouldn't reach up to some of the apartments, and the people were told to stay in their apartments, that they were fireproof, which obviously was not the case when it was quickly spreading throughout the entire building. So there were some brave firefighters. Two went on top, I guess, with ropes, which I think of ropes and burning, and they would just snap. But anyways, I guess they're special ropes or fire retardant or who knows. So two were at the top and then one came down, and there was two ladies that were just like hanging on the side, and they grabbed them and put them, like smashed the window of a few floors below and put them in there so they could get to safety. Anyways, I just like happy stories like that. And also, if you guys haven't heard, we guarantee the sale of our listings. So if we don't sell it, we will buy it for cash, as well as if the market does go down, we'll sell your home for free. So feel free to reach out to us at 705-726-7000 about the conditions of that. Again, 705-726-7000. I hope you guys have a super remainder of your week. Stay kind to one another, go after your dreams, and take care.